Hello and welcome to the Wisden Women's Cricket Weekly Podcast in association with Metro Bank. Metro Bank is the first ever champion partner of women's and girls cricket, and this year, together with the ECB, they are launching a Metro Bank Girls in Cricket Fund with the ambition of tripling the number of girls cricket teams by the end of 2026. Metro Bank wants to provide more chances for women and girls to thrive in their community, so through the Girls in Cricket Fund, they'll be focusing on recruiting, educating, supporting and celebrating the people that make girls cricket in clubs happen. To get involved, head to metrobankonline.co.uk/cricket. England beat Pakistan 2-0 in an ODI series this week. The series finale featured a genuinely sensational 100 from Nat Sciver-Brunt, her 9th in ODI cricket. We'll talk a little bit about that series. We'll also discuss where fast bowling is going in women's cricket. Are bowlers getting faster? What speeds could we see in the future? We've got England's 23-year-old attack leader Lauren Bell on the show to discuss that, as well as Telegraph journalist Tim Wigmore, who's done some digging into the subject. I'm Rana, and with me is Lauren Winfield-Hill. Lauren, how you doing? I apologise for the background noise. I'm currently basically behind the sight screen here at the Oval before the men's game, so apologies if you can't quite hear me very well.
No, I'm all good. I've got a different backdrop today as well. I'm up in Durham before our game tomorrow, so we're both mixing it up today.
Yeah, so something different. In the end, yesterday it was plain sailing. It's a 2-0 series win, but at 70 for 3, England were struggling a little bit against the Pakistan spinners, and it wasn't until Danny Wyatt and Sciver-Brunt joined forces in the middle that England asserted their dominance in the game. England have a recent form for struggling a bit against slower spinners in particular. Last summer against Sri Lanka, they struggled in the T20s, and when they did well in the ODIs, actually, it was only when Nat Sciver-Brunt came in and scored 100 that they were successful. What does Nat do in particular that's so good against that type of bowler? Because that is something that England are struggling against a little bit in recent times.
Yeah, I think it's her inception point. I think we spoke a little bit actually about that yesterday during the game, and there was a really nice graphic of side on of for all the cricket badgers out there, they'll love this stuff, but it's her inception. So basically, she mitigates this middle ground. So you hear a lot about people talking about being caught on the crease, and you're sort of stuck in that middle zone. And what Nat Sciver-Brunt does really well is she basically eliminates that middle zone. So when she's playing off the back foot, she creates more depth than most batters create. And then when she's playing off the front foot, she gets further out than most people sort of get out. And what she does as well is that, I think a lot of it is, she plays so well off the back foot and she hits the ball so cleanly off the back foot. You know, it's very difficult when the bowling's slow to almost create that depth, but then still absolutely nail it. And I think what she does, she hits it so cleanly. And a lot of the time it's along the ground. You know, she has one of the healthiest strike rates going around. But actually, if you look at how long she takes to hit a ball in the air, it's usually a good way into her innings. So the way in which she's playing is very low risk, but very sort of high reward in terms of runs. And I think that's probably been a trademark of her batting, really, and especially against spin is her back foot play. And I guess the other thing is as well, and we saw a lot of that yesterday, was just the awareness and the ability to manipulate the field. Like, there's no fine leg. She plays the little dinks and the paddles to get rid of mid wicket and opens up other areas of the ground. And I think, you know, she's smart, but she's also got the tools in the locker to be able to pull them out at the right times as well.
She turns a lot of balls that are like stump high to almost, they look like long hops, but when you look at the replay, like those balls really aren't that short. I was going to ask, what are the challenges of facing slightly slower spinners? Because the Pakistan spinners are that, 5 or 6 miles per hour slower than the England lot.
Yeah, I think Sophie Eccleston and the average for the spinners of the England crew is sort of like 48, 49, and Pakistan spinners are down at sort of 43. And I think that what that does is it plays with your movements and your rhythm. So I guess you're sort of used to working off a tempo, and your feet move at a certain tempo to a certain amount of pace or lack of pace. And what I think is the biggest challenge with playing slow bowling is, and I think it's something that we've sort of spoken a little bit about when we talk about batting, is not moving at the tempo of the ball. So quite often, if you've got a spinner with a bit more on it and a little bit more energy and pace on it, you sort of move forward and back at that tempo. Now, when you don't have that same pace on it, is almost you then move laboured to match the pace. And I guess the challenge is to I remember Ali Maiden, England batting coach, sort of from a few years ago, used to speak about moving late and moving fast, because that's the biggest challenge when you're sort of playing against those slower bowlers.
Nat's record for England is ridiculous. So she's now got 900s in ODI cricket, the joint most for England. Averages 47, strikes at 97. Of the women to have scored more than 5 ODI hundreds, Meg Lanning is the only other to average more than 45 and strike at more than 90. Since the pandemic, she averages 60 at a strike rate of 97 with 600 in 39 games. What's taken her game to the next level? Because she's always been a very important England player, but now she's arguably the best ODI batter the women's game's ever seen.
She's one of few that's come out of them COVID bubbles in good stead, isn't she? Only the strong survive those. I don't know. I think she's. I think she. To be fair, she had a little bit of a break after one of the COVID bubbles and had that sort of mental break, where she just felt like she was a bit cooked. But I think she's done a lot of work on the mental side of her game, and you can just see. I think the biggest thing that she spoke a little bit about this yesterday, was managing those tricky periods and getting through that. And I think we saw it yesterday. It happened around 80, where she got a little bit flustered and movements were out. She was sort of trying things that she hadn't tried. She'd come away from what was working within the innings, but it's her ability to almost in the moment recognize that and just sort of gather yourself, reset, and sort of just go, look, let's just keep doing what was working. But very few can do that before they give it away. So I think that's probably been one part of her shift in terms of getting those big scores. Is you probably, if you think about, if you're scoring 100, you're probably going to have a couple of lulls that you have to get through to make a big score. And I think it's the management of those lulls, whether you sort of come outside of your bubble or you come away from your strengths or whatever it is how quickly you can identify that and get back to what works. I think that's one of her biggest strengths, is sort of her composure and control in the middle. Like she plays very few false shots. I think the other thing is she's got a pretty. It sounds quite simple, but she's got a technique that's uncomplicated. There's nothing outrageous going on technically. She sort of stands still and hits with the full face of the bat. So I think the other thing is that she's evolved her game. She's got a pretty robust technique. It's an evolution of a player, isn't it? Where people expect you to be amazing at the start of your career, but you have to play a lot of games to have the understanding and the clarity of what works, what is my blueprint, where is my mind at when I'm at my best, how she paces in innings is incredible in terms of when she takes risk, and things like that, and that all takes time. I think she's just sort of coming into that sweet spot where she's got a lot of different experiences under her belt, and particularly in ODI cricket, she admitted it herself in the T20 series. She hasn't quite found her true T20 identity in terms of the tempo of the innings and actually when to pull out the shots that she's gonna, she wants to pull out. Whereas in ODI cricket, she's got a pretty robust method that she knows works, and it's just about how often she can sort of do that.
That takes us nicely on to Alice Capsey, who had a decent series. And I think some people just forget how young she is. She's still only 19. She's only played a handful of ODIs for England, but there's some chat about how best to use her. She's batted high up the order, this time batting slightly lower in the order. Lauren, if you were in charge of Capsey's development, where would you bat her in ODI cricket?
Oh, I think she'll definitely end up sort of in that top 4. She's a genuine batter. She's probably playing, that role of sort of an all-rounder at the minute. She can bowl a few overs. I actually think her bowling's very useful, and probably we haven't seen a lot of that for England just because there's so many spin options. But she's a genuine batter. She will definitely end up in the top 4 because she's a quality player. I think, in that middle order at the minute, it suits her nicely because, she has played a lot more T20 cricket than she has ODI cricket. And it becomes a T20, doesn't it? At that 6-7. It's a bit like Danny White's been at the top of the order, and then she's sort of found herself in the middle order because it suits her best strength, which is sort of giving yourself 5 balls and having a bit of a dip. So I think, that role suits her quite nicely at the minute. She's also a very good player against spin, but I fully expect her to be right, particularly in that top 4 in the, moving forward. I think at the minute it's just trying to create opportunities, isn't it? You've obviously Maya Busha's in possession, and she's got a run at that sort of top of the order spot. And really, there's not a lot of other holes opening up in that ODI team. So I think it's more a case of just identifying that they obviously know that they want to get her in, and at the minute that's the only spot that's vacant, really.
We're going to hear from Lauren Bell in a minute. It's another young player who's doing really well. She's only 23 years old. Is almost the attack leader, really, in that she plays across formats at the moment for England. Lauren, from your perspective, we're going to talk a bit about how seam bowling might be changing in the women's game, where it might end up in 10, 15 years' time. From your perspective, do you think attitudes are changing around seam bowling and what coaches are looking for in seam bowlers now compared to maybe 5, 10 years ago?
Yeah, definitely. I think we've sort of seen it in the men's game and the women's game, haven't we? I know there's been a lot of sort of chat about Rob Key saying, that his big thing is that he's not worried about wickets. He wants pace and he wants bowlers that are quick. From the men's game, I think the language is very similar in the women's game in terms of, you look at sort of bowlers that have been fast tracked, almost, where they haven't got a lot of domestic or 100 or experience. But they've almost been fast tracked and thrown in. You look at like a Lauren Filer. She doesn't have a lot of a body of cricket beneath her, but she's quick. And she's sort of the mold that John Lewis is looking for. So I definitely think that I guess it's like the talent identification process, isn't it? Has changed in terms of, it's probably not, if you're looking at an academy system or an under 18s or whatever, it's not looking at leading wicket takers that might bowl little medium pacers with a keeper stood up and a ring field and they're the leading wicket taker, but are they really going to be what we're looking for international cricket to play for England? Potentially not. So I think like that sort of expectation of what they're looking for has definitely changed. And I guess it's looking more into the how and not just into the stats.
Bell is one of a number of bowlers who really gets the ball to hoop in. As a batter, what are the additional challenges in facing a bowler like Bell, or going back further, Anya Shobsol, who really does get the ball to properly swing in late from well outside off stump?
I guess you're bringing in lots of modes of dismissals, aren't you? If you're attacking the stumps and bringing the ball into the stumps, you sort of your LBWs, your bolds, even sort of caught on the ring. And I think the reason that happens is that it cramps a lot of batters for room. I think you see, particularly now with the evolution of sort of T20 and technique and swing, almost, batters' swing planes have sort of changed a little bit. You sort of got that sort of like baseball golf hybrid type scenario going on in T20 cricket. And it takes away the arms. I think you see it a lot, don't you, where batters almost come onto leg stump and trying to give themselves room all the time. And I think that's why the in-swing bowlers and left armers probably fall into the same category. Is you can close down one side of the ground easier because you can, you almost in swing, so you can defend one side of the ground. And I think that you can bring in lots of dismissals, but the biggest thing technically I feel as a batter is that you don't get your arms. It's more difficult. You sort of get in a lot into that like blind spot, rather than that space that you're used to operating in.
Well, Lauren Bell spoke to Katya Witney earlier in the week about her development and where seam bowling is heading in the women's game. You'll hear that chat and then straight into the one I had with Telegraph journalist Tim Wigmore, who's done a lot of work on the topic.
Do you feel that difference having a fast bowler as coach? Do you feel like you've got that kind of relationship with him where it really helps propel your game forward?
I don't know if it's because he's a fast bowler. I mean, it might it might be from his side, but from my side, it's more just he's come in and he's given me, him and Matt Mason together, they've given me a confidence in my ability and in me as a bowler. And I think I didn't necessarily have that as much before. And obviously they've come in and given me that. So, yeah, I think it does help. He obviously understands me and my bowling and what I'm trying to do. So, yeah, I think him and Mace together have really helped with that.
And I guess coming in and replacing or filling the shoes, maybe is a better word, of people like Katya Sciver-Brunt and Anya Shrubsole, that's such a big responsibility. It could easily be quite daunting. Have Matt Mason and John Lewis been pretty good in kind of helping you through that kind of transition period, I guess?
Yeah, I think from the outside maybe, but like from me, I don't feel like I'm replacing them or I'm trying to be like them or fill them in. I think I'm just trying to do what I do and just trying to find my way as an England cricketer, as an opening bowler. So yeah, I think I'm really lucky that I have them as inspiration and as role models too. But yeah, I don't think it adds pressure on my career so much or how I feel, because yeah, I'm kind of just focusing on me, and yeah, I've got the support around me, and the women's game is only going up. So
But still, coming in and leading that attack at such an early stage of your career, how do you feel like you're learning in that kind of role of being a leader and being that kind of voice in the bowling group?
Yeah, I think obviously the leading and having this responsibility is something that's also come quite quickly. I think it was basically coming out of the World Cup when Catherine then retired into the Ashes. It suddenly all changed it was my job. And I guess through the Ashes I wasn't so aware as the Ashes were going on, but obviously that was becoming more my role. And I was just enjoying the responsibility that Heather gave me. And as a bowler, when you're given responsibility from a captain, you feel like they trust you and they back you and you're who they want to go to. So it gives you confidence and gives performances out of you. So yeah, I'm really enjoying the responsibility. I'm hoping that as I go on, I can get more and keep keep the position I'm in. But yeah, I really enjoy the responsibility. It gives me confidence as a bowler and yeah, all of that comes with it.
And over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of focus on like speed in women's cricket and bowlers who are potentially breaking that 80 miles an hour barrier at some point. What allows you to keep your speeds up in training and in technique wise? How do you try and make sure that you're bowling at an optimum speed for you?
Yeah, I guess a lot of it recently in the last maybe 12 months has come from, I've done a lot of gym work and a lot of strength. I think like the big thing for seamers is to be strong enough to bowl as fast as you can and keep the positions, and that coming with keeping fit and being strong enough to stay fit and bowl over and over again it's probably the two things that have worked for me and helped me bowl quick. And it's still something I'm pushing on. It's still an area of my game that I can improve on and make progress in, and I think a lot of it comes from the strength work.
Is that a big focus then for you, like pushing your speeds up?
I think along with a few other focuses, it's definitely something that I would like to get better at. If I could get a little bit faster. I think obviously you see people like Lauren Filer beating the bat and rushing players, and it's obviously amazing, and it's obviously something I could really work on in my game. So yeah, it's definitely something that I'd work on, and me and Mace have chatted about a bit about how I can go about that. So yeah.
Because I remember an interview with John Lewis, I think last year, he said that one of his like key beliefs in the women's game is that bowlers can be bowling a lot faster than they're currently bowling. And I think he also name checked you in that interview. Is that quite a focus around the squad and bowling as a whole at the minute?
It's not like what we're looking to do when we go into games. I think obviously our consistency is pinpoint. I think obviously hitting the stumps as much as we can as a bowling attack is what we want to do, but obviously movement and pace is what makes a good fast bowler. So I think I have the movement and I have the skills in that sense. Obviously I'd like to be more consistent, but if I could get the speed as well, it just makes you a more threatening bowler. And Lewis is always pushing us to improve, and obviously that's a position where I could improve.
So speaking about that movement, I was actually in preparation for the interview, I was watching that spell against the Rockets in the 100 that you bowled last summer, and I was looking at how much swing you were getting on the ball, and it was a lot. How do you generate that movement, like as a layman?
So the thing with me is I've bowled in swing since I started bowling, since I was a kid. So a lot of it has come from my natural action is to come over the ball, and my wrist is slightly I guess it's works for me, but it's not technically exactly how you'd want your wrist to be. But yeah, I come over the ball a little bit, so it allows me to, when I'm at my best, it's only a little bit, and it goes quite a lot, but it goes late. So yeah, I think it's been something that I've naturally had since I started bowling, and it's just something I've worked on and learned how to control a little bit better.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it something you've had to learn to control if you just found you were doing it naturally as a younger player?
Yeah, I've definitely had to learn how to control it. I'm still another thing that I'm working on, and you can always get better at consistency. No one is a 6 out of 6 every over, but yeah, I've obviously had to work on it. Sometimes it swings. It's dependent on conditions as well. You come to England and the ball swings. Australia, it doesn't swing as much. Like, yeah, so it's every day it swings a little bit more or a little bit less, and it's just something you have to learn as a bowler. And I've had challenges, but also a lot of success with.
Just circling back onto the discussion we had about coaches a couple of minutes ago, what kind of coaches, as you've been like growing up and coming through the ranks into England, what have coaches done that's really helped you develop your game and enable you to reach like a top level of performance?
Yeah, I guess I said it a little bit there. I think having confidence in you as a player and in your ability, and when you walk out onto the pitch, the fact that you know you're backed and you have confidence is, for me personally, has really helped me succeed. You never want to feel like maybe you're under pressure from your coach or you're not doing it how they want you to do it. I think you always want to feel like they back you and they back what you're doing. So yeah, I think that clarity of what someone wants from you, and then also my personality and the way I train is that, like, I just want to have fun and enjoy it, and like I'm quite a happy person, so I guess just like making sure that enjoyment and like is at the top, and letting me be able to be me and show my personality and have a bit of fun with things and have a laugh and not kind of be too serious all the time.
Well, which coaches have been particularly important to your development throughout like your younger years as a player?
I guess like I've had Lottie for a fair, I'd say from the period of turning into a professional cricketer to playing for England, Lottie or Charlotte Edwards was my like main coach, and she probably had the biggest influence on me. She's obviously still the Vipers coach, but she was one that had a lot of trust in me and build. And I guess as a 15, 16-year-old, she saw me and she realised that I had potential, and obviously that's really helped me. So yeah, I guess I've worked really close with her. We have a really close relationship. Still now, she's still my coach for the Vipers, so and Brave. So yeah, she's had quite a big influence on my career.
And coming through the Vipers as a teenager, you just said 15, 16. We know that like low confidence can be a massive issue for teenage girls. How did you kind of make sure that you were going onto the pitch as confident as you could possibly be at that age?
Yeah, I think it is really hard, and it's like one of those things, I think it doesn't come naturally to a lot of people, but I guess just making sure that being supported by everyone you're around and the enjoyment side of things is like the most important part about having confidence when you're on the pitch. If you feel good, if you're happy in yourself, you're a lot more likely to be able to perform than if you're feeling a bit rubbish in yourself and you're feeling a bit like, I'm not sure if I'm good enough to be here. But yeah, I guess it's just one of those things. And I remember Tammy, one of my teammates, who is the best at doing this, she's so good at it. She told me that you just have to fake it till you make it. And sometimes that is just what you have to do. Like, sometimes I might play and I don't feel as confident, or I've had a bad game and I am a little bit nervous, but you just have to go out there. And I guess if you tell yourself and you make it look like you're confident and you strut around like you do know what you're doing, then yeah, it might rub off and actually fill you with a little bit of confidence. But yeah, I guess that's another thing that Tammy showed me, and it does really help.
So I'm speaking to Tim Wigmore. If you can hear some background noise, we're at the Kia Oval before the fourth and final England men's T20I against Pakistan. So a couple of months ago, Tim, you wrote a piece on the pace race in women's cricket after Shabmin Ismail was clocked at 82 miles per hour in the WPL. Last year, we saw Lauren Filer not far off come from nowhere, becoming the fastest English bowler and getting herself into an Ashes test. Do you think we can expect similar trajectories in the women's game where we see players put on a significant amount of pace in a short period of time?
Yeah, so what's interesting is with England, there's been a few bowlers. Freya Kemp is another one who basically over winter has gained sort of 5 or 6 miles an hour, which, percentage terms is almost, 7 or 8%. So we've seen that big leap. And I think what's changing women's cricket is probably the quality of athlete is really improving, and also the sports science. I mean, most of sports science is basically men's sports science now. That kind of awareness is finally seeping into, now people are finally realizing that the women's body is different, and they're not just transposing what works in men's cricket. And so as that awareness increases, it actually should help women to reach those higher speeds on a more regular basis.
When we see a speed flash up on the big screen or at the bottom of our television screens, what is that speed? What are they actually measuring?
Yeah, so we're at the Oval where last summer at the 100, there was a lot of excitement with Gus Atkinson, men's bowling for Oval Invincibles. He was clocked at 95 miles an hour, which played a big role in him getting picked by England. And speed guns vary a lot from match to match. Yeah, basically. So in theory, it's measuring how fast the ball is when it's released from how long it takes to get from A to B. But yeah, in theory, it seems simple, but actually you see the same bowlers, and you talk to bowlers and they will say, from day to day, I'm bowling the same speed, and it goes up or down by 5 miles an hour, even more. So, and perhaps with this, sometimes you do see these, when a bowler reaches a speed that's 3 or 4 miles an hour more than their previous peak, that statistically is quite unlikely.
Whether or not Ismail actually bowled a ball that was 82 miles per hour, she is the quickest bowler in the women's game and has been
consistently.
And consistently has been for a long time. In the men's game, 100 miles per hour has been the sort of peak of what is believed to have been possible. Brett Lee and Shoaib Akhtar got there 25 years ago, and it's generally assumed that is basically the limit that people can get to. Given how quickly speeds are going up in the women's game, what do you think the peak could be? How much faster do we think the quickest women's bowlers can get to? So
I think the best answer is to kind of look outside of cricket. So, generally in Olympic sports, where strength is important, sports scientists talk about an 80 to 90% rule, which is basically where the top women's speed or outcome will be 80 to 90% as high as in the men's discipline, which again, if you're going back from 100 miles an hour, that takes us to somewhere in the 80s. We don't, as you said, really see 100 mile very often. So, my sense is, and there's a few different variables here, such as the ball is a little bit lighter in women's cricket, which again, that should help the speed. So the sense from talking to a lot of experts, it's a bit of an unknown. We don't know for sure. And especially when what you said about the speed gun is true, but I think the absolute upper limit could be 85 miles an hour or so. That to me feels the equivalent of 100.
But then also seeing more bowlers bowling in the high 70 mark that we saw Lauren Filer reach last summer. You mentioned earlier that there's an increase in athleticism. Is that just from training, but also in that women's cricket is becoming so much more popular at such a speed that you are just attracting better athletes at a younger age are choosing cricket over other sports?
Yeah, absolutely, because you can now make a good living in cricket, and in fact, with the WPL being able to play, in India and leagues around the world, it can be a very, very good living. And actually, also you think about if you play tennis, say, actually you need to be in the top 100 in the world to make money. The top, 2 or 3 really players from Britain to make serious money. But actually, in cricket, that period is a little bit less. So in a way, it's a bit of a safer bet. And I suppose now with franchise cricket, you can make a good living without even playing internationally all the time. So I think that is a big factor. So what we have is we have a higher, the relative quality of athlete compared to other sports is increasing in cricket. Cricket's making those gains, and we have the more knowledge about bowling fast as well. And then when they get there, they're actually fully professional now rather than juggling with everything else. So there's sort of 3 factors there that all point to being able to bowl faster. Remember, the idea of perfection, really, it's a decade old. So that actually most of these things you probably need 15 years. Really, you want to till you can get
kids who are watching the WPL and getting inspired by that now. If they're only 10 years old, we actually won't see the benefits of this for years and years and years potentially.
Exactly, and what you want, when you get kids who are into a professional system from 13, 14, not to say they're professional at such a young age, but they're in a system that has that knowledge and knowledge of academies and how to tinker with an action at a certain age. That's all really embryonic. So that it's quite exciting in that there's a lot of unknowns actually in men's speeds. I think we kind of know what we know, and there's always going to be theories, but actually in women's cricket, there's more possibilities, which is exciting.
Are we also understanding that an optimal action for a women's fast bowler is different to a men's fast bowler?
So what we see in women's cricket compared to men's, we see much more bowlers who bowl in swing. So they're swinging the ball into right-handers, and that's we heard from Lauren Bell, and it seems to be that's a sort of it's a kind of pelvic thing in the action, but it's a more natural approach, and actually also the speeds, the optimal speeds for the swing generally sort of between early 70s to early 80s mile an hour. That's when most bowlers in the women's game are. So that also is helping swing. So we're getting not A, more swing, and B, a different kind of swing, which is very dangerous. And I guess the really interesting question maybe is that it's obviously very exciting. How fast can you bowl? But how much does it actually matter? Which is a different one, which is, so basically we talked about the 80 to 90% rule, but reaction times for men and women are very similar. Most sports scientists think women have slightly slower reaction times, but by a very small amount, which means for women to be facing 85 miles an hour should actually be a lot less challenging than for a man to face 95 or 100 miles an hour. So you might have a situation where if you're bowling quicker, you're not necessarily getting rewarded for it, and if you're bowling a little slower and getting more swing, maybe that might be more dangerous. But of course, everyone wants to be the fastest.
Well, that's it for today. Cheers for listening. Cheers, Lauren. The Metro Bank Girls in Cricket Fund, in collaboration with the ECB, aim to triple the number of girls' cricket teams by breaking down barriers and creating supportive and inclusive spaces. Help transform the game. Head to metrobankonline.co.uk/cricket to champion the future of girls' cricket.